Hello, this is Lisa Hazard with We're All Psychic, and we got Misty with us, of course. And guess what? We have a guest, and her name is Melanie. Melanie, would you like to say hello?
Hello, everyone.
Melanie, do you think we're all psychic?
Generally, yes, I think we are. Although I think you kind of have to level up before you can kind of access certain things. It's like a video game, if you want to put it in that regard. I don't think you get your first human body and suddenly become psychic. I think you have to earn it.
That's I
Yeah,
like that. That's pretty
I
cool.
like it.
And it's interesting that
Yes.
you said the way you put it because the reason one of the topics we're going to talk about today, who knows, it goes all over the place sometimes, but Melanie knows a lot about past lives. And so this podcast is her teaching us about past lives. So Melanie,
Yay.
why don't you let the audience know more about you? Where are you from? What do you do?
Let's see. Well, I am originally from Denver, Colorado. I now live in the wilderness of New Mexico. Me and my husband and my animals and our dear friends, DEER friends. And
You got me.
so, land of enchantment and all that good stuff.
Oh,
Um,
I'm jealous.
so I read cards full time on the Everclear platform. Thanks, Everclear. Um, And then I also have an Etsy shop. If I can plug that,
Oh
that'd be
yeah,
cool.
where's your Etsy? I've been to your Etsy shop. You got some? Yeah, I've been there. I liked it.
Thank
Tell 'em-
you.
yeah, we'll
Oh,
put
I
a
want to
link to it.
go.
Yeah, what's it
Yeah.
called? What's it called
It's
again?
called Seance Sewing Circle.
Love it.
And I'll put a
And
link
I
to it in the description too for listeners to go check it out.
sweet. I make tarot card boxes, I do embroidery, any number of things. My goal is to mix like witchcraft and thread and embroidery and arts and crafts, right? That's the
That's
goal. So,
wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I talked to Melanie through email, she described herself to me as the crazy witchy aunt. So she's known as. And I thought that was really interesting. Because well, in Alabama we have a lot of witches, and it's been they go way back, as you probably know, in your areas you've lived in. So not only do you read cards, but you do past life regression. Is that right? Or
I do
you
past life readings
readings? Oh,
with
readings. Okay.
cards.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So tell us about that. Let us know what that's like.
Yeah. How
Well,
does that work?
so it's a lot like your standard tarot reading, except the cards have kind of like different layers. Anyone who reads cards for any length of time, they know that like not every card means the same thing every time, right?
Yeah.
You have to put it in context. And the um the experience for me is kind of like opening, I don't know, it's like opening a book and reading somebody's story. I don't know if that's Akashic record stuff. I
Oh.
don't necessarily know. All I know is that when I get into a space where I'm doing a past life reading, the meanings of the cards completely change and it's like a movie plays out.
How did you
And
learn that skill? How
Cool.
did you acquire that? I mean, how did
Yeah,
you figure that out? That's amazing. Do you
it
see it in your
um
is.
mind, and can you see it?
yeah, I see it. Um okay, so my tarot, I'm self-taught with tarot. And then when I was 13, I started having really weird dreams about stuff that didn't make sense. And in addition to that, I have been fascinated with certain times and certain places my whole life that were not necessarily related to my ancestry or anything like that. And so the combination of those two things led me to do these types of readings because, and you've probably experienced this too, people make the same mistakes over and over and over again. And you can
Yeah.
and you yeah, and you can see like, oh, you've known this guy before, you were with him before. And a lot of the choices we make, we're kind of on autopilot. And the universe can tell us to, you know, move right, move left, or keep repeating the same thing. So when I started seeing these patterns repeat themselves with some of my clients, I just started asking different questions and reading the cards differently. And then it was like, oh, this guy again. And you start to see how people are connected and how the choices they made and the vows they made 100, 500 years ago are affecting their life now.
Oh my gosh. I love that.
That is so cool. Yeah.
I so believe that. I so believe that.
So that's like, did you always believe in past lives, or is that just something that you
Yes.
just kind of understood? It's just always innate in you that you knew it,
Yeah.
right?
It was
Yeah.
like, I'll tell you, this is going to sound weird. Okay.
No,
But
it won't.
thank you, girl. So I always liked old radio shows, like before TV, right?
Okay.
And I remember listening to the radio version of the book 1984 with David Niven, who was very popular in his day. And I was suddenly like, it just made sense. Everything about that broadcast made sense. There was like this strange thing of familiarity about him, even though, what was the last movie he was in? Like Curse of the Pink Panther when I was a toddler. So it's like, who's this David Niven guy? And so he embodied a very quintessential English manner, right? And that made sense to me. And so, for whatever reason, I'm like, I love England. And it kind of went from there. And then I
Yeah.
started having weird dreams. A lot of times for people, puberty is a very strange time in more ways than one. In addition
Yes.
to all the hormonal crap, I
Mm.
think a lot of people can come into their own with some of their powers and their gifts at that age. And for me, it was being tuned into a previous life. So.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
what was your first past life of your own that you remembered? Was it England, or was it?
Yeah, it was. It was actually my most recent life before this one.
Okay,
So.
want to tell us about it? I'm kind of curious. If you
Sure.
don't, you don't have
Me
to.
too.
But I want to know.
All right. So, I was a soldier in World War II, which sounds generic, but it's not. In particular, and it's weird with the internet, you can actually verify a lot of this stuff now. It's crazy. So, through the course of my dreams and my research, I kept dreaming I was in prison and people were speaking German to me. Now, German is part of my heritage and I speak German as a second language, but I'm like, what is this? I'm in a German prison. What is going on? But I'm a soldier. Am I a German soldier? I dealt with all that. And then over the course of many, many years, I did research and dream recall and stuff like that. And I was actually part of a special operations executive. It was just a group of like 20 badass guys who would do these like raids along the coast of France.
All right.
And then I had a dream about, of course, being captured, being on a train, and then being captured, and then being executed.
How were you executed?
Firing squad, of course.
Oh, do you remember that experience of being?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I actually did a soul retrieval session, and I remember feeling I was shot twice. The first bullet didn't hit, and then the second bullet did. Yeah.
Could you feel it?
I got chills. I just got
when it
chills.
happened. Could you like feel? Because when I had mine done not too long ago, I had been shot in the chest, and before when I was experiencing it, like I couldn't breathe. Like my chest hurt and I was having a hard time breathing. And then that's when I found out I had been shot in the chest. So that's why I ask, did you feel it?
Did you actually in your memory feel that bullet? Okay, yeah.
And so that was the first one, and I started kind of poking around, and like oddly enough, this group of people ended up being the basis for James Bond, and they took like 8 guys and made him one guy, right? And which is weird because I always kind of had this weird love-hate thing with James Bond. Like, that's not how you do that.
Because
Because I'm like, I was freaking there. That's not how you do that. And so, and then the other weird thing that happened about 10 years ago, the British archives. That's not the right name, but like they opened up a lot of their archival materials around World War II. And you can research it. And for a considerable sum of money, they will pull records on any number of things for you and send it to you. But to have that sent to the States was like $500-$600 to look up a bunch of stuff on special operations executive spies and operations, all that stuff. You can find it. I think it is, yeah.
Cool.
So it is possible to, with the power of the internet, to verify your previous self.
Now, I have a curiosity, because this is I talked to Misty about that. I've talked to a lot of people about this in wondering about past lives. One time, in college at Auburn, I was in the library, and I was doing an art paper on art history or something, and I was looking through this art book of painting portraits, and I was like, oh my God, that's Eric Truitt. There was just like this guy I played in a band with. He played drums, and but this was a picture from like the 1700s, but it was him. I was like, oh, I was like, exactly, even the expression and everything. Do we sometimes have the same faces?
I think that's possible, especially like within a bloodline. I think people are their own ancestors more than they even realize, right? Which that's a whole other thing we can get into if you
I'd
want.
love to. I like that because I agree.
But I do think it is possible to resemble the same type of person over and over again for the sake of your own comfort. Like your soul feels comfortable with this set of traits, and
Okay.
also so other people can recognize you. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities here. And we can get into this too about, different genders without offending anyone, hopefully. I was being a man in one life and being a woman in another life. What's that about? So
I have a question for you too, because like I'm not nearly as experienced in understanding or working with past lives, because I don't even know my own. I just have little glimpses of things here and there. But like when everyone's had this experience when you meet someone and you look at them and you lay eyes on them and you just like it's kind of like not the quite love at first sight thing. It could be anybody, and you're just like, I know you. I need to know you. You're special, and they like stay in your head forever. Those people. I feel like they are past life people that you have like some kind of thing you got to resolve, maybe, or whatever. How do you feel? I mean, do you have those experiences where you meet people and then now that you know about past lives, if you were to meet someone and have that moment, would you know who they were or anything like that?
Yeah, I think that comes with varying degrees. It can be like, someone you spent time with, it can be your best friend, it can be someone that was your mother, husband, whatever. I think there's varying degrees of that recognition, but it does happen.
Well, see, like when I did mine, and I'm still kind of confused about it, but Lisa was in my past life, back in the Egyptian days, and we were friends. And then when we met, we kind of connected immediately. Don't you think, Lisa? Like
Definitely. Yeah, I was like,
it was
well,
very
yeah.
fast.
And something that's weird
Connection.
with what was, yeah, and I don't like fast. It takes me a long time to get to be friends with
Yeah,
someone.
but it was just like
Yeah.
I've known her forever.
Yeah, and I when I meet someone and I have that kind of like connection with them, it puts me a little at like, whoa, I got to take this slowly. Because sometimes I've had like a connection with someone and it's not healthy. This person is not healthy for some reason,
Right.
and I, that's
Not
more when I was younger. With you, I didn't feel that way, but what about you, Misty? Something that's interesting. Maybe you can explain this to us, Melanie, or the audience. I could tell her. I found myself telling her things that I just don't tell anyone the first time I talked to her on the phone. And like something that I was working on personally. I was like, why did I tell her that? I haven't even told my husband that, but it just came out, and it has to do with, letting friends and love into my heart, accepting the love and the people want to give me. And mostly I'm just kind of like a, big wall. And I explained that to Misty, but like, I'm going off on another train. Here we go. On another rail. When you meet people, like you're talking to us, can you just pick up on stuff about our past lives when you're like talking to someone for a while? Do you get flashes or anything? You can, or does it happen on purpose, or do you try?
It depends. Like there has to be kind of an aperture, so to speak. You know, they have to be open to it, and obviously we're having a conversation about it, so you're open to it. I can't. If someone isn't open to the notion of it, no, I'm not going to pick up on their past life. If I'm doing relationship readings in particular, yeah, it'll come through. Especially with people that are like, I can't quit this guy and he's bad for me or whatever.
Yeah.
Those
are the worst.
Yeah, those types of things, you can find those connections and hopefully the person has a breakthrough. The hard part with past lives is not everyone you encounter, again, is someone you're going to want to encounter.
Yeah.
You may meet someone and go, oh God, it's you again, not you again. You know?
Yeah.
And there's other people you encounter where you're like, oh my gosh, I've missed you so much. I'm so happy to see you.
Yeah.
So if you want to know what I've picked up about you and Misty,
definitely.
I do.
That's where I was going.
Bring it
hoping
on.
you'd go there for me.
So this was back in this was a long time ago when there was, you know, everyone had 20 wives and stuff like that. So you guys were, I guess the term would be sister wives. And
I love it.
And you guys,
oh my.
And you guys would kind of like sit in the corner and frankly talk shit about the other girls. And
who was the dude? Who was our dude? Was he all right?
Yeah, I mean, he was all right. Luckily, you guys were some of the later wives, and he was old, so he didn't mess with y'all too much.
Yeah.
Did we have our own lovers? Were you allowed to, or can you tell that much?
It was more, I see you around other women most of the time. And there was a lot of theatrics going on, even if no one was watching or if the pharaoh wasn't present, you still had to act like you were having a good time. It was like everyone's eating grapes and having a pillow fight or whatever. There was a lot of like there's a lot of like play acting going on. You had to pretend
just to please this man.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
To keep up appearances that his women are happy.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, were there more with us, or was that it?
What are you asking?
She's wanting to know more. What else do you see?
Did we have more lives together, or was that it?
Honestly, I'm not sure yet. Since you honed in on the Egypt thing, that's what came through. It's probably where you first met, and it was probably when you had the most time to spend together. There was a lot of downtime, so there was a lot of talk, and a lot of the things you talked about were strategizing your own survival and outsmarting the other girls and all that palace intrigue crap that can get people in trouble. So you guys were an alliance, basically, that no matter what, we're gonna stick together.
I don't know if
that makes sense.
I don't know if they did this in ancient Egypt, but I have this image of Misty and me smoking a hookah. I don't know what's in it. We're having a good time. When you were talking about that, I just had this image of like we were sitting there, that I had this image of us like in like a bathhouse kind of thing, but not in the bath and smoking a hookah.
That could have been.
It looks kind of like a hookah. It doesn't look exactly like one, but it's like got like two tubes coming up like this, and it's just ceramic, and it has a little dish in it, and there's two little things coming up.
It's very
I don't know
possible.
what that is.
Where it's also possible that you were in a harem more than once.
Oh, that's weird. Yeah, you know that makes sense in some ways for me because well, I feel like I've had mainly masculine past lives, but it makes sense because I've always felt kind of trapped in a woman's body because I've always had men's interests, and until lately, and nowadays it doesn't matter that much to but I wanted to be a musician. And the men were like, no. Wanted to be in sound. They're like, ha ha ha. I still got jobs and work and stuff, but it wasn't. I was always kind of. There was a sexist thing going on. Now that's not there so much, in our culture, especially with the younger crowd. And but I identify with like male energy and their ambitions and their interests mainly, you know,
Right.
like science, math, you know, stuff like
I
that.
think we're probably more comfortable in one body or another if we had a preference, if we had a choice, you know.
Yeah.
But there's certain lessons you have to learn. My own personal thought around this is you can have a complete human experience if you've only been a man or only been a woman.
Right,
Like
right. Yeah.
you're not learning much after a while.
Right.
So, and there's different challenges depending on what body you're occupying. Like I can't go be James Bond with this body. There's no way. Right? So there's different lessons that I need to learn being, you know, this tiny lady instead of, you know, and there's a couple books I want to recommend around this that I didn't write because I'm not that clever, but a very clever person did.
You are that clever.
Yes, you are.
He's a hypnotherapist by the name of Michael Newton, and he's written 2 books.
We love
Oh my
Michael
gosh.
Newton. We've talked about
Right?
that book on this podcast so much.
We love it.
Okay. So if any of your listeners
we love
haven't
you.
read Journey of Souls or Life
Oh my
Between
gosh.
Lives,
We've already talked about that on the show. We
We've
were
talked
like,
about
this
it,
is the book.
The book.
Yes.
Yeah. It's so crazy because like it's like my I've never met anyone who's read that book. And then when I first started hanging out with my best friend now, a while back, that's how we connected, talking about that book. And then I talked to Misty about it and she read it. And then we have all these people reading it around us. And we're like, ooh, you know, for like about a 6-month period when she first started, you know, doing the podcast with me. So yeah, it's really weird that you're into that book too. We can't recommend it
It's
enough.
crazy.
Yeah.
and it makes sense. And it's
Love
not
it.
specifically religious. It's just very organized. And when he goes through all of these case studies and everyone's saying the same thing about what happens and what you got to go learn and what you got to go do and who your soul group is. And that brings me to your soul group and how different people play different roles in your life. And they all kind of trade off. And that it makes sense. It makes perfect sense, at least for me.
Does.
So
it does to me
does
too.
for us too.
Yeah, I love that. Anybody, you got to read it. You can find a free PDF if you don't have any money. It's there.
Yeah.
I don't think he cares that it's free either because he wants that information out there. I imagine if he's alive, I don't know. But I have a question, and it's kind of, you know, it's like in reference to that book too. And I was thinking of it earlier, and when in that book they do experience lives on other dimensions or planets or experience, you know, stuff like that. Have you ever read into doing someone's past life and find an alien life or another dimensional kind of being or spirit life?
Ooh, good question.
Ooh, that is a good one. I have not encountered that yet. Although now that you said it, it'll happen.
Yay!
So I did do a reading for a client who was having a hard time finding her twin flame, finding like real love again. And I was looking at why. And she was kind of just making do with who she had. It was okay, but it wasn't like this sort of rapturous, passionate love affair thing. And the person she was with, that she kept searching for, he had one wing. I read him, and he had a single wing on the left side of his body, and he was someone that came to do a very specific mission. It was like a unity thing, to bring people together, and that was it. And he hasn't reincarnated. So I had the notion that maybe he was divine, or like, well, we all are, or he was ascended in some way. And he came and did his job. And this woman was utterly devoted to him because obviously ascended people are very charismatic. And he came and he did his thing. And he's like, I don't have to come back and do this. And that's why she hasn't found him, because he didn't.
He could be guiding her from the spirit place too, you know, on the I work a lot of medium work. I do a lot of medium work, so that's where my mind went. He might be assisting her, you know, on the outside or wherever that is, whatever that outside is. I think it's right on top of us. We just don't have the sensors. You know, we do, I think, but I think
so
it's, you know, buried.
I got a question. How many lives do most people have in their past?
Oh, I think it depends on where you are on your journey. I've
Right.
seen people with like a minimum of 3 and other people with upwards of, 13, 14 different lives. It just depends on who you are, what you're here to do, what your
Right.
kind of mission is. But I would say the average where you finally start to get it would be probably 4 or 5. You're starting to ask questions and go, what am I doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, when I've we've talked about this on the podcast before. I'm sure you've looked into this and know a lot more about it than we do. But children, young children remember their past lives, and there's lots of documentation of this. The like the 3 4 year old saying I was a soldier, that kind of thing, and they will have remember parts of their
Yes.
lives. And do
Yes.
you have experience with that personally, like meeting children and them talking about their past lives and you knowing what they're talking about, that kind of thing, or?
I haven't had the opportunity to discuss it with children because with this type of work, you always want the parents' permission.
Oh, of course, yeah.
You don't
I just
ever
didn't
want to
know.
read,
Yeah.
but and I won't share his story without his permission, but my own husband talked to his mom about when he was big and the things he used to do when he was a grown up. So,
That's so
and
cool.
there was this show, it was on, I don't know what network, but it's called Ghost Inside My Child. Did you see that one?
Mm-mm.
And
I
they
don't have cable.
had,
Yeah.
oh, okay. Well, I think it's out there,
Oh,
but
so
there
you
was
can
this,
find anything, yeah.
but and it was kind of a misleading title, but essentially it was about children recalling their past lives. One was a little boy who died on September 11th. Another was a little girl who was most likely, what was that lady's name? Annie Oatman. She was a lady who was captured by the Yavapai Indians and was tattooed, and later made the circuit back east very famous as a white woman with tattoos. And so there's all of these stories. And again, it's possible through research to verify who you were.
That's so
That's
Um,
so cool.
and I think kids are much more open to the idea and they can access that because there's no one sitting there telling them no. They don't have this dogmatic way of thinking
right. Their
that as we
society
grow
hasn't told them
up,
that's not
They're
real.
still
Yeah.
very, very gullible. Yeah.
yeah,
They're
and
their own thing, and except dependent on us physically, really.
Right.
right. So I think children are an amazing resource for their own understanding. So if you have children and they're around 3, 4 years old and they start talking about this stuff as a parent, if you're open to the idea, I think it would be safe in age appropriate terms to talk about it with them and say,
Cool.
tell me about this. What does this mean to you? What does it look like? Ask them age appropriate questions and write it down or record it. And then as they grow up, you may have a better picture of the little soul that you brought into the world because yeah, I mean, they are dependent on us, but
Yeah.
the knowledge that they have access to is so far beyond, just
I mean, just
everyday
looking
life.
in a baby's eyes of, up to 5 or 6 months, a newborn, their eyes is just like I'm looking into a universe, and they just the way they just gaze,
Right.
Yeah.
oh, yeah, it's just like that look is just so wonderful.
Well, how do you start that conversation with a 3-year-old?
I guess
Usually
you
they'll
let them
just
start it.
say something. Yeah.
But what if
Usually
they
they're the
don't?
ones. If they don't, I wouldn't prompt it. I wouldn't necessarily like poke at them to be like, "Do you remember when you were big?"
Yeah.
You don't want to confuse them. I would just say if your child spontaneously starts discussing things that seem beyond their years or beyond their experience, by all means, open that up for discussion and see what
Okay.
comes out.
That's cool.
Okay.
Misty, do you have any other questions?
Yeah. A million.
Okay, let's start with one.
I don't even know where to start. Um, when you say cards, like you
Mhm.
said that you read it with cards, are you talking about like tarot cards
Yes.
or oracle or okay. Um, so what if somebody wanted to try to do this? what would you suggest starting out doing?
Meditation and lucid dream
Okay.
work.
All right.
How
I've done the
how do people get to
meditation.
lucid dreaming? I've always tried to get myself to do it. I've had it happen, but I just can't like spontaneous like in my dream. I've had it even happen in my dream. Ooh, I'm gonna do it now. Oh, I made my dream, but I can't like go to sleep with the intention and have it happen yet. I haven't been able to.
Right. YouTube is like my favorite place in the universe for all the videos that can get you to the right
Okay.
frequency.
What frequency would you like? Do you mean those binaural beats or?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, those things are awesome. Ooh,
So
which
they have
one would
stuff.
you recommend? The
Oh,
hertz.
there's a million of them. I
There
don't
are
know the
we.
hertz exactly.
Okay.
I'm not that sort of nerd, Lisa. I don't know.
Oh, that's
But
okay. We'll forgive you. I'm not that.
I
I'm
can
a nerd,
I
but
can talk
I
to
don't have
you
that
about the
information.
Schumann resonance, but other than that, um but no, start with like lucid dreaming. Intention setting is a big deal. We can get far with intention setting, just in our own minds. And then meditation is also a big part of this, to say, I want to see where I go, I want to see what I need to know. The other thing, if you're not ready for that, is if you have an affinity for a culture, a place, and or a time that isn't within like your geography,
Yeah.
like I love medieval Japan, for example, but you're in, Canada or something, like it seems very disconnected. Those affinities usually point to an experience in that place.
Okay.
Mhm. I agree.
I do have a question too. Do you believe we all have the same age of souls? Do you think we are all the
No.
same age?
uh,
No.
no, vastly different. I think we're vastly different ages, and I think that diversity is necessary, for the sake of our own learning and existence. Like,
Okay, I'm gonna throw a real crazy question at you here.
okay.
Where does the soul come from? How does it begin? How does it begin?
Ooh,
You know
I
what she's
don't.
gonna
I
say?
don't have an answer for that. What is she
I
gonna
don't.
say?
Yes, you
I'm.
do.
I don't have an answer.
You're gonna say, read the book.
Well, yes, read the book, but I mean, how can I eloquently answer that question?
It doesn't have to be eloquent.
That's at least a 2 shot of whiskey question. But
Okay, let's get it. I got some whiskey.
Yeah.
I got some Evan Williams. It makes me sick, but I'll drink it for that answer.
um, you know, I'm not entirely sure, because then we're getting into some really, really big questions. What's the
Yeah,
point? Why
maybe
are we
that's another
here?
podcast. Would you like to come back and maybe do a what? Why are we here? And what the hell
Sure.
are
Yeah.
we?
What the
I
heck?
So, Melanie,
I would love to.
where can people find you? We got your Etsy shop, and we'll put a link to that. And we're on Everclear, and I'd like to say thank you to our sponsor, Everclear, right now. They are an advice app where you get your advice from psychics and empaths, and they have $1.99 minute. Not minute, $1.99 for 10 minutes, and then you get $10 for your chat volleys if you want to try that. And it's legit, dudes. We both work there, and it's a very good company. But she works there too, and
I
under
do.
that, her profile is what's your
Melanie C is my profile.
Melanie C. Okay.
And I will gladly do a past life reading for you, but if you expect me to do a past life reading for you in 10 minutes, no ma'am, no sir. These take time to build, these take time to work around, to get. There are 7 billion people on the planet right now, and it takes a minute to find the right reference book. I got to find you and figure out who you are, what you're doing here, all that. So I would love to do past life reading, but please do me the favor and do yourself the respect of giving this about a 20-minute minimum, so that I can get you some really clear answers to help you move forward.
Yeah, I'm so going there. Yeah.
Yeah, I will put your
Yeah.
profile name on there. Would you like me to put your personal Everclear number on there too? On
You
the
can do
profile?
that. And
I'll get it.
not
I'll
to
get it from you afterwards. Yeah.
Okay. And then if people aren't ready to make that leap, I also have an email. It's 3roadstarot at
Is it the
gmail.com.
The
So
number
the
3
word,
or
the word 3. So 3roadstarot@gmail.com. So if you have more questions for me, or you need another way to reach out to me about this topic or any other, you can do that too. And if you want some cool, awesome stuff for your crystals and your cards, SeanceSewingCircle on Etsy. So.
Oh yes. Thank you so much, Melanie. Any last words you'd like to? Anything you'd like to tell the listeners?
Oh, I would like to. Okay. Yes. So if you start exploring this for your own personal growth and your own spirituality, don't be afraid. And fear is natural, but don't think you're going to run into some sort of experience and you were a terrible, bad person, and you're being punished. We could get into karma and that type of thing. I would still encourage people to explore this aspect of their spirituality for their own knowledge, and know that even if you messed up, you have a chance to fix it.
I love
And
that.
there is some joy in knowing who you were. And if you had a life where you were a soldier and you did some amazing, incredible things, that you still have that resilience, and all of your experiences in previous lives, you can bring them out and carry them with you and remind yourself of how unique and amazing you are. And that resilience can carry you through, and you can still access that knowledge about yourself at a soul level to help you now.
That's beautiful.
I'm in.
You.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
I'm in.
And listeners, as always, thank you so much for listening to us talk about the mysteries.
Yes.
And Misty, thank you, and Melanie, thank you.
Thank you,
It was
Melanie.
a pleasure.
Bye to the listeners. Bye.
Bye, listeners.